Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be talking about Orianna, specifically playing into really aggressive comps. So first, again, going into the drafts. So the reason I pick Orianna in this game, I'm kind of dropping Kassadin because to me, Kassadin and Echo are very similar champions, so if you guys were wondering about that. I'm mostly going to be playing Orianna, Quirky, and Echo for my champion pool. Echo's obviously banned this game, and Quirky would be hard because we wouldn't have much AP, and so I go for Orianna. Now, this is not an ideal Orianna draft because the enemy team comp is really aggressive with a Volibear, Aatrox plus a Yuumi. And so despite this aggression, I still lock in the Orianna, and then I switch to Cleanse because they have a lot of CC. And because of this, I know I'm going to have to position really well because it's not an ideal matchup. And so I really want to show you guys how to play into non-ideal matchups when the enemy comp are a little more aggressive than you like, and you're going to see that Aatrox is going to get a lead early. So we're not going to focus super hard on lane. I'll talk you guys through the basic thought process in the lane real quick. But again, the main focus of this video is the later stages of the game, positioning, keeping track of spells, making sure that we understand how to play into these aggro comps properly, just generally that type of thing. So early on in the lane, I'm trying to keep the minions at different health. So basically what I mean by different health is I want my minion and his minion to be a different amount of HP. That way when the enemy walks up for the last hit, I can punish them with my abilities and I don't have to worry about last hitting. So notice out here, initially I try to make my minion or his minion slightly lower, but he kind of takes control of the lane a bit, and so he autos it twice. And so when he autos it twice, I walk up and try to punish his last hit. Now I made a really stupid mistake here, and I actually played this lane pretty bad in general. And the mistake I made is I walked into minions against an AoE champion. So obviously Brand's goal is going to be to land his spells on me and the minions at the same time. And so the way that it would have been more effective for me to trade with him would be coming from this angle while he's trying to focus on the minions, so that I'm more separate from the minions. So because of that, I do lose the trade. But again, the general thought process of staggering the minion's HP so I can punish his last hitting was still utilized properly there. Again, here trying to walk up for his last hit, but my Q wasn't quite off cooldown, so I didn't punish his last hit there. And so now, because I don't really have much to do, I'm just trying to make sure I get level 2 at a similar time so that he can't just hard, win the level 2 trade. And then we start trading with him. And now there's a very important thing to understand. It looks initially like I lose that trade very hard because he uses both of his abilities on me and he gets the Electrocute proc. But because he has no Electrocute and both of his abilities are on cooldown, and my champion, my Orianna passive, gives me additional auto attack damage on all of my auto attacks, I want to trade very hard here. And so notice how I continue to trade. I dodge his one spell, and then we get the trade, and now it's back to even in terms of the trade. And I've been farming effectively enough, plus I have first strike, so I'm doing pretty well gold-wise. So I definitely didn't play ideally. Again, you see I walk into a minion I shouldn't have walked into, and so I get hit by the AoE there. And so in terms of that, my positioning was suboptimal, but we're still punishing his last hits. We're playing for those types of things. We're trading back after he uses his spells, and so the lane's not going too poorly, but definitely not an exceptional lane by me. A lot of mistakes there, and mistakes you guys can obviously learn from as well. Another important thing to understand once you're level 2 and onwards on Orianna is if you can't land your first ability directly, you only want to trade with first ability just to move the ball closer and then just hit your W. Only if, and your W is your second ability, you only want to do that if you have first strike up. Because if you have first strike up, then landing just a second ability damage is enough. But if you don't have first strike up, then it's kind of not super useful to just land your second ability damage without getting the first ability as well. So if you're not in range for the first ability, you usually don't want to do that. Some exceptions are going to be if the enemy is already low. If you want to get pressure in the lane just to push the lane so you can recall, as you see me recalling on Mana Boots here. And those are going to be kind of like the main exceptions. And also if you want to move your ball in a position where now it'll zone the enemy better. So a lot of times you want to throw your ball into kind of the middle of the lane so that it has less of a travel time on, the next time you use your first ability, basically. But that's the gist of this lane phase. Again, I could have definitely done a better job of not standing so close to minions, but we did punish his last hits at least so we get decent trades. And when he used his spells, we made sure to trade back rather than running away. And we got a proper recall on Mana Boots after crashing the 4th wave so that we were able to recall properly. And then now, because the lane is kind of over, like we're not really going to kill each other for the most part, I'm now just trying to push the lane and get prio. Now, I noticed that he's probably roaming because he's missing. I ping retreat, but he's roaming really late and I already have a wave pushing. So I know if he roams, I'm going to get a plate and I'm going to deny him all of these minions and I'm going to win the trade because this minion's 65 gold. These are both like 40. So obviously 80, that's 145 gold. Plus 150 gold from a plate, that's 295 gold versus potential 300 gold he gets from a kill. But a 300 gold kill makes him worth more gold later on if he ends up having a shutdown on him. And he doesn't get as much XP as I get from the minions. So I win this trade, even despite him getting a kill and us trading 1 for 1 are trading gold-wise rather pretty evenly. He has to waste a lot of time, loses the XP, all those types of things. And I'm able to get another free wave as well. And then I get the tempo advantage and the recalling advantage. So basically just a lot of benefits for me there. And then their ADC also comes to cover, so they're sharing the next wave. So basically we get a nice little gold lead there from his roam too early before he pushed the wave. And so we kind of take advantage of that. And that's a common thing to take advantage of early game as Orianna, because then you get control of the next wave as you see here. And so now I get to recall first or to roam first, basically whatever I think is going to be more effective. In this case, there's probably not going to be a good gank here because the fight's kind of already over. And so I recall and then I go back towards mid. Now what is Brand doing? He's roaming and he's not recalling yet. So Brand is going to have a lot less gold spent than me. He's just generally being very inefficient with his time, and so I'm a lot stronger than him. And because I got the initial recall off before he was able to recall and I'm stronger than him, this means I can push the wave, take control over the wave, and then look for a rotation, which you see here. I go towards bottom lane to rotate because of that exact thing. I end up stopping the Yumi's third ability to go onto her teammate, and we get a double kill out of that scenario. That was pretty funny that my ult ended up stopping the Yumi there. And so yeah, because we have that tempo advantage on the pushing first and then being able to roam, we're able to outplay the Brand, roam before him. I'm stronger because I've spent more gold than him. Even if we're relatively similar in gold, I'd spent more because I take better recalls. And then we end up punishing him as well since he's late on the roam. Wukong comes and just everything works out really nicely. So again, not the focus of the video, but the main key takeaways from this early game. Again, I should have done a better job of standing away from the minions against the Brand, but we did a good job punishing his last hits and playing around his cooldowns. Then we used proper recall timers to make sure we could have better roam angles by recalling after the fourth wave on mana boots and recalling after we pushed the wave and took some plates when he made a stupid roam. And then once we got back to lane, because he hadn't yet recalled, we took advantage of the fact that we were stronger to get more control over the wave and then rotate. So that's basically how I was able to get an early lead here, how I was able to be ahead, not only kills but also gold even if I hadn't gotten these kills. And then this is kind of where we'll start talking about playing into aggressive tanky dive champions. So Volibear and Aatrox are obviously the dangers this game. Anytime you're into an aggressive comp, you need to identify the most dangerous members to you of the enemy team, and you need to identify your targets and who you want to target. So if I target a Volibear with Yuumi shielding, Yuumi healing, I'm not going to do much. But if I utilize my skills to target the backline as their front line's diving onto my team, I can successfully kind of diminish their backline's effect on my teammates, as their front lines on my team. And so in this case, I'm going to be looking to target champions like Brand, like Sivir, while maintaining my distance from their front line, especially, if I don't have spells. So in this case, I have Cleanse and Flash to avoid Volibear. How is Volibear going to go onto me? He's going to go onto me with his first ability, Stun, or with his ultimate. If he ults me, I'll Flash it. If he stuns me, I'll Cleanse it. So I have ways to avoid the Brand, or the Volibear. And now, obviously, Aatrox we don't yet see here, because he's probably top lane. He is top lane, we see. And so because we know Aatrox is not here, the only real danger in aggressive champ is the Volibear jumping onto me, and I have ways to respond to him. So I'll focus on targeting those squishier champions that I can actually kill, and then use my spells that I spoke about to kind of avoid Volibear. And so you see here we do exactly that. We get a nice ultimate onto both the Sivir and the Brand, backing them off completely. I flash onto them and I force both of them to flash over the wall, and now it's just a Volibear left here who's already used his ultimate on my team, who again, if I needed, I could have flashed, but instead we flashed aggressively since we saw him use his ultimate, so I knew I didn't need to flash that anymore. And then we just win the trade, and then Brand walks up because he's a silly goose. I don't really know what he was doing, but he gives us a free kill as well. And so you can see, into those aggressive champions, if you keep track of the specific dangerous spells to you, then you can easily avoid those through positioning and through proper use of your spells, such as Flash, Cleanse if your champion has a dash or a shield or whatever. And then targeting, again, those squishy champions so their backline doesn't get as much value when their front line goes in. That's kind of the main way we were able to take advantage of that early fight, despite the enemy comp being rather aggressive. But it is a bit easier in the early game, and you're going to see the later the game goes, the harder it is to avoid their aggression, especially because Aatrox gets extremely fed from the Scion, like he's already really ahead. And so gold-wise, we're very, very worried about the Aatrox, which is why you see when I position in this fight, I go over this wall initially. I don't come in this angle because then the enemy can run straight at me. But if there's a wall between me and the opponents, it's a little easier, and so that's where I'm initially positioning. And then we're just looking for a nice little ultimate there because I know the enemy are rather distracted. Aatrox flashing onto me is still not that dangerous for me because, again, I can easily kite afterwards. And again, since I'm positioning over the wall, it's pretty hard for the enemy to hit me. And then I'm just playing nicely around my ball there to get a decent, engage there, or a decent kill there. Basically just letting my team kind of go in first, having that patience, and again, keeping track of those spells and knowing what spells I have to respond is kind of the main way that I'm able to play this early game into the aggressive comp, right? And so I'm very, very strong at this point, but the Aatrox also is, and so my main kind of concern is my own life rather than positioning super aggressively. The enemy are naturally going to target me pretty hard because of the fact that I am very fed, and so I just kind of got to let them come into me. Again, keep track of those main spells when those spells are out, or when those champions are really, preoccupied, like if Volibear's on someone else. That's when I start going more aggressive. That's when I start targeting them, all of that type of stuff. And then, yeah, here I think we end up killing Volibear. Good engage by our teammate, gets us a pretty easy kill. And then I throw my third ability and get the kill steal because I'm the kill steal goat. And then we ult this because I wanted to save the turret, and we do end up saving the turret, so I ulted just to, make sure it lives. I think it dies like 2 seconds later to Aatrox, so it didn't really matter, but it's the thought that counts. And again, at this point, very, very strong by the anti-heal because they have Aatrox and Yuumi. And then I'm going to finish Morello's 4th item. And so that's another thing, the itemization, right? Into these really aggressive champs, I mean, Volibear as well, they all heal a lot, so having that kind of anti-heal is nice. And then here again, I can target the Aatrox a bit because he's kind of distracted with someone else. I got a call. Okay, he's kind of distracted with someone else, so I'm kind of able to pretty easily just like focus him, and he's not really able to get onto me, which is kind of another important thing. It's just like whenever they're distracted, that's when you really take advantage of it. But here at this point, I kind of realize like I need to get out. I try to use my cleanse to predict his first ability, but he doesn't stun me right away, and then I end up dying to Volibear. Unfortunately, not the end of the world that we die. I mean, obviously sucks giving away the shutdown, but in terms of spell tracking, I mean, we were pretty far back. You can see Volibear had to dive really deep to kill us. We had decent ways to avoid them. I just didn't use my cleanse properly. And you're going to see a few times this game, I end up trying to cleanse too early when I should just wait for Volibear to actually first ability rather than predicting his first ability. And that's going to, a couple times, kind of make it a little more difficult for me. And so that's kind of one of the main mistakes I make here in this game overall. But yeah, again, so far you guys kind of get the point in terms of how to play into these aggressive comps. So we'll kind of skip forward towards, more fights and focus more on the fights this game. Because again, I'll have different videos throughout this entire series focused on different aspects of gameplay. And since this one's mostly focused on positioning in regards to playing against aggressive champions, I'm not going to go super in depth about where I am on the map and when I am where, whatever. Here again, pretty straightforward. The Aatrox is, pretty much being CC'd by my entire team here. And so if we look here, even though I know there's a chance he could flash onto me or go onto me, there's no way he's going to one-shot me before he dies to my team, and so I can get damage onto him without being super worried. So obviously, if you're catching out this person, you're pretty much fine. And then I make sure I don't position next to my team so that Aatrox doesn't get like a massive Q where he gets a bunch of healing. Like I'm spread out enough where I'm not gonna, it's not the end of the world. I do get hit, by the edge of it while my teammate does as well, so not ideal, but again, I kind of know I can't really just be completely one-shot by Aatrox because he just doesn't have that damage. And then that means that we're still going to be fine, even if he ends up going onto us like that. I mean, it was good target priority by him to go onto me when he saw us go there, but yeah, we end up going a bit too far, and so the enemy do get some turrets off of this. Definitely not ideal by us. And so we have to recall to cover them again, get the waves. At this point, I hit death cap, and once again, when we're going to this fight, we kind of have to realize, like, okay, if we look at the gold right now, I'm literally 12k gold. Basically, everyone else in the entire game has not hit 10k apart from this Aatrox again, who is really dangerous. And so my life is really all I care about in these fights. If I don't see the fight going well initially, I'm not going to stick around for 3 hours in a fight that just doesn't make sense. I'll try to poke people a little bit, especially when Volibear uses his flash or other things, but that's pretty much all I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to like hard overextend. Even here you see Volibear kind of going on my team, so I'm going to land an ult and just kind of peel my team, but I'm not necessarily walking, super far forward playing the fight. I'm just kind of let me poke, let me make sure my teammates don't die, and then let me one-shot a Sivir because my champion is insanely fed. So obviously that's really good as well anytime we're able to, one-shot these squishies. We have so much burst damage. I'm trying to keep track of the Volibear here as well because I know that he's kind of dangerous. But another important thing is understanding engage ranges too. So just like the more you play, the more you understand like how far a champion can, basically the distance that they can have between you before you're actually in danger. And with Volibear, I mean, he's largely movement speed based. He doesn't really have any gap closer apart from his ultimate. And so if he doesn't have ultimate, I kind of know I can try to poke him and mess with him a bit. I don't need to be super, super worried. And then here, I'm pretty worried about flipping a random Baron, and so I'm trying a lot harder to zone the enemy, as you can see, focusing like the Brand, for example, rather than focusing on the Baron. So a lot of times people, when your teammates try to flip the Baron, will just try to flip it with them, but notice how I'm just trying to zone the enemy. I'm trying to keep them off of my teammates, and just kind of running back again. And so if we're kind of looking at the reason that I run back so far here, it's because I don't know where Volibear is, and Volibear has his ult, Aatrox has his ult, and they're both full HP, and I don't really know if they have flashes right now. And so you can see, even though I'm trying to get poke on them, notice like how far away I am when I'm poking them. So like here, I'm in very, you know, I'm literally, Lux is like directly in between me and the Aatrox. And like even here, when I land my ultimate, notice how I'm running away. I'm not like staying and trying to get more damage. And then as I see Volibear show up on my screen, I know I need to start running downwards, because if he does target me, I'm obviously going to be in a lot of danger. So just notice how far away I am from these dangerous champions. I still have my flash up as well, and the Volibear goes very far for me and then dies, because we're positioning so far away that if they really want to dive onto us, they're pretty much going to die for it. Even now, Aatrox, once again, he's trying to target me, they're trying to go on me, but they just can never reach me in these fights, because I'm constantly aware of the dangerous things they have. And instead of just, you know, walking up and trying to get as much damage off, I'm very aware of the fact that I'm so fed that I can kind of fend off the entire enemy from most objectives as long as I survive for the most part. And so my life is way more important than getting max damage off in these fights. And like that's kind of the main thing that I'm trying to reiterate to you guys, is when you're into these aggressive comps, patience is like the #1 thing. You're going to be patient. You're going to see patience be kind of a reoccurring thing that allows me to get a lot of value here. And because of that, they're really, you know, fed Aatrox, over aggresses, trying to kill me constantly, gets caught out by my team. And now all of a sudden their most fed member is dead. And then once again, we're just looking for, you know, zoning here in this fight. So even though, again, Volibear rather can target me, the difference is Aatrox is dead, Sivir's not here, and so Volibear jumps on me, my entire team's going to turn on him. And then also I know if Volibear does ult onto me, one, I'm relatively far away from him, so he has to still gap close. And then I can use my ultimate defensively to knock him back into my team. So notice how I end up throwing my ult onto myself here. When my third ability comes back onto me, like in a second here, as you'll see. And then, yeah, so again, I see him coming. I know he's going to do that. We end up knocking him kind of in a weird spot with our ultimate, and then the team peels, because again, since one of our teammates, or one of the enemy's fed aggressive champions is dead, we have a pretty easy time being pretty aggressive here, and then basically getting a lot of value from that. Now I want to make sure I go and cover the bottom lane, because Sivir was pushing rather than staying on the Baron. So I do that, but then I immediately recall after pushing the bottom lane wave to go back towards mid, because I'm really just trying to control the Baron side of the map. I'm trying to make sure the enemy don't get a Baron, and I'm just, again, keeping track of these main spells, and pretty much just constantly being annoying for the enemy to not really let them reach me, stopping Aatrox's back, because I'm just, you know, an annoying Orianna like that. And yeah, I don't really remember what happens here with my Lux. I think she randomly gets caught. Oh, no. So it ends up actually being a good angle for us to get a pretty nice ult. Sion had a nice engage there. And then this is actually another really important thing, is the patience. So like a lot of people would chase with their team right here. Now the reason I don't chase with my team is because I know Aatrox and Volibear are coming. They're going to dive onto me. And if I'm this deep, they're going to run me down. They're both movement speed based champions. The longer that, you know, the further I am away from my base, from my turrets, the more likely I am to die to them. And again, because I'm so fed, I know that if the enemy do go for the Baron, I can poke them off really nicely. And so you're going to see here, my team's going to overextend. They're going to get double killed. They're going way, way too deep. And so because of this, I know, like in my mind already, they're going to go for Baron. Like they just killed 3 of my teammates. They're probably going to go for Baron. So I need to be in a position to zone them. And then I have my flash, stasis, and cleanse. So I can flash a Volibear ultimate, or in Aatrox engage, I can cleanse Volibear first ability, and I can stasis anytime I get low. And so I have a lot of those defensive tools still, and I'm just making sure to put myself in a position to, you know, save myself. So I grab the honey fruit so that I can spawn my own honey fruit with the seed jar passive. And then again, I'm just waiting around for them to start Baron. And look, as soon as they start Baron, I'm already chunking them to half health. So it's really hard. And so then they try to turn on me. But I'm aware that Volibear is going to ult me, and so he's not really able to get any value from that. Then Sivir dies to the Baron. Varus gets the Aatrox. And now, even again, my Varus decides to randomly flip an objective, but look at who's alive. Aatrox and Yuumi are both missing here. They're not dead, unlike these other people who are grayed out. And I know if we do the Baron, Aatrox is going to one-shot Varus, is going to get a reset in his ultimate, and going to run me down. So instead, I'm waiting for him to show up. He shows up, and instead of starting it with my Varus, like an idiot who ended up dying, I end up, again, valuing my life over anything else, making sure that I can position myself in a way where they can't really catch me. Even when he flashes me, he has to use all of his spells in order to kill me. I'm able to flash his final spell so he doesn't actually kill me. I miss my ultimate because I suck at Wild Rift, but it's okay because the Aatrox sucks more and dies. So we're perfectly fine. And then our team's able to find a nice engage. And this is pretty much all due to my patience. Like, my teammates made really dumb plays, really over-aggressive, choices, doing a stupid Baron, chasing into the enemy's spawn, lots of dumb things. But at the end of the day, because we were patient, because we were aware of the enemy's key spells, and we knew how good our champion is at zoning people from Barons, we were able to stall all of that and end up even smiting the Baron because my champion also smites objectives really well. And so we're in a position to win this game, even though, again, this is a very hard game. Like, the enemy team comp is not easy. I locked in Orianna because we needed AP, and because Echo was banned. I would have probably played Orianna even more than Echo anyways, but aggressive champions are very hard to play into with Echo and Orianna, especially Orianna. And so, because of that, you have to understand how to play these types of games, because if you are following my champion pool, this is one of the weaknesses of the champion pool. Corki's pretty good into aggressive champions. Echo's okay. Orianna's very bad, and sometimes the enemy are going to lock in these very aggressive champs, and that's how you're going to play against it. Because again, you can definitely still win even when you have a suboptimal matchup if you're doing these different types of things. And again, just staying at the engage range constantly of the Aatrox so he can never really go on me. I have my crown now. I still have stasis. I have cleanse. And so again, I'm keeping in mind what spells I do have to defend myself and kind of using that as sort of a benchmark for how aggressive I'm going to be. Like, again, the more spells I have in terms of defense, the more flashes, stasis, cleanse, whatever I have, the more aggressive I'll be. So because I don't have flash, I have to be a bit more aware of someone jumping onto me right away. But I still have a lot of my other spells, so I'm pretty happy. And again, obviously staying within my teammates, range so that they can protect me, if anyone goes on me or anything like that. But just again, generally being further back, letting the enemy aggress onto me, right? So pretty straightforward. I think I've beaten this point home pretty hard in terms of how to play into these aggressive comps and understanding patience, but that is kind of the point of a lot of these videos, is to give you guys one major sort of concept to work on at a time. And so that's really the concept that I wanted to bring up here. And then again, even here, this is also a very common thing. Elder Dragons in 26 seconds. My teammates are low health, over aggressing, trying to push the base. Now, I'm not going to leave them completely because we do have Baron and we are pushing, but notice how far back I'm going to play even in this fight. Because again, I don't have flash. I'm in a rather endangered position, and so notice how I'm the farthest one back in this fight. I'm trying to make sure I put my ball in a position to zone people right now, and then I'm trying to get good value out of my ult. I'm trying to poke people, but I'm never being too aggressive. That way, when the Volibear goes onto me like he does here, I'm able to get a bunch of damage onto him, kill him, and then we get a rather messy fight here. I do time my stasis well, but then Aatrox gets healing because the Wukong just decided to fight him. If Wukong decided to not fight him right away, I actually would have probably killed Aatrox because he wouldn't have got the healing. But instead, because he gets the healing, because my Wukong goes on to him, he doesn't die. And it is a very close fight, and so obviously, this could have gone wrong. I mean, I'm 1 HP, definitely possible I could have died there, but even then you saw I was being patient enough, playing far enough back where it's really hard for the enemy to get on top of me, even when my teammates are inting really hard, but I'm still in a position to fight if my team needs me, so I'm not going to, just let them die for free there. I'm going to still try to poke the enemy off and make sure I'm zoning them, but I'm just not going to be, putting myself in the front line. Again, being patient, waiting for those things like Volibear ult, Aatrox to go in, whatever. And it just requires so much. Like, you can just see how hard it is for the enemy to kill me. Like, I'm constantly just being really, really annoying. And yeah, at this point now, we're just really zoning the objective. So that's the other thing, right? We know the win con is the Elder Dragon here, and so I'm just sitting around the Elder Dragon hoping the enemy don't go for it and zoning them if they do. And then because Volibear shows, I want to hit this. I'm trying to get my team and encourage them to hit this. They don't want to, but that's what I was trying to do. That's why I'm damaging it. And you're going to see that happen again here. Since we know Volibear is not here, we just start hitting it with our team. We just start damaging it. And then we time our first ability, second ability, third ability combo to smite it ourselves. So notice how I smited that because my champion does so much burst damage. That way we're able to get the Elder Dragon. I miss my ultimate. And then even there, after missing the ultimate, realizing my team's dead, I don't keep fighting. Obviously, a full health Aatrox with a Yuumi is not going to die, even if I have Elder. So once again, I realize I just need to stall the game. My entire team's dead. I have good wave clear. Let me just go stall the game. That's all I have to do here. Scion's on the side lane, pushing top lane as well. And so we're just trying to stall. Once the Baron spawns, then we're going to try to obviously, contest Baron. And here, I thought I could kill him. But, Yuumi shielding plus spell shield plus healing, and it didn't work out. But the Aatrox does get a nice engage there onto him, or the Scion rather gets a nice engage, and so it still works out. And again, just constant patience, right? Constant spell tracking. Again, really beating this home, I understand, but just want to make sure you guys really understand how even when a game looks really lost or when my team goes in on some type of dumb fight, I'm just making sure that if I'm alive, I can always wave clear, I can always stall the game out. I don't need to follow up on every dumb play. I need to be in a position where I can win the fights, you know, with my team if necessary, but I don't need to go too aggressive. And then here, Volibear goes trying to one-shot us. Luckily, he doesn't. I have stasis and Scion saves me. So you can see even in that position, it's pretty hard for him to kill me because I am still in a relatively far back position. I don't know why Yuumi was, you know, without an owner. She was kind of lost, a stray cat, if you will, and she ended up being punished for that. So very sad for the Yuumi there. But at this point, it's pretty straightforward. We can just grab the Baron and pretty much end the game, which I think is what we do. We get Baron, go down mid, and end the game. I think I land a really cool ultimate here, so I got to make sure you guys see my cool ultimate. Oh, I killed someone. You guys have to look. You always have to. Oh, did we one-shot her? We did one-shot her. That was nice. Again, the stray cat just walking around. Don't really know what she was doing. Ult cooldown late game is really low too, like only 20 seconds. It's kind of insane. But yeah, just waiting for the waves to come. Pretty straightforward at this point to end. We have Elder, so I can one-shot everyone, which is what I'm doing. And again, just following my team, pretty straightforward. I also like having, you know, a Wukong, because throwing my third ability onto him and then landing ult is usually nice. Aatrox tries jumping onto us, but then, yeah, I think in a second they all converge onto my ball and we get a nice 3-man ultimate, and everyone pretty much dies. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Just wanted to give you guys a bit of an overview on how everything's going. I think at this point I'm like 2 games from Master. This video, or this game, is from like 2 days ago or a day ago. But, yeah, this is from 2 days ago. But yesterday I ended up getting Master. But these videos are kind of going to be uploaded not necessarily at the same time that I'm actually doing, like not the same day, because I'm kind of scheduling a lot of viewers or a lot of videos for when I go to Europe in a couple weeks, or I'm going in like May 19th. So I'm kind of scheduling videos. So they might be like a couple days to maybe like a week out of date. But yeah, overall, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.